Particles and stellar bodies. Friends, as I already explained in the simplification of this cosmic and atomic model, TOE 1992, the cosmos or universe is structured in exponential cosmic levels in such a way that the sum of minor material units, such as atoms, tend to unite together by the action of gravity, forming and composing superior units such as the stars. Therefore, and in the same way that atoms are composed of lower matter units, subatoms, stars can come together to form higher units, such as suprastars. And as is also explained in the aforementioned simplification, the same component elements, types of particles, forces, structural laws, etc. occur and are produced at all cosmic levels. Therefore, any element or physical law that is found and produced at one level will also occur at all other levels. For example, an electron at the atomic level has its correspondence in planets at the level of stars, and a neutrino at the atomic level has its correspondence with a moon at the stellar level. As shown in the drawing of the previous explanation, between one level and the upper level there are almost infinite particles, atomic particles at the level of the atom, and stellar bodies at the level of stars. But all these intermediate particles are simple pieces of matter of any dimension, but with the same qualities and acting forces. A. Gravity, or concentric and incoming force towards the material nucleus, that attracts, coheres and accumulate them in larger particles, and its antagonistic force B. B. Magnetic forces, or outgoing and expansive force, which try to redistribute matter and energy through space in equal energy density. As we explained, all the matter in the universe tends to come together and form orbital systems for the correct balance in the distribution of energy throughout the cosmos, and the synchronized action of both forces is what produces and builds all these orbital systems: atomic nucleus with its electrons, electrons with their neutrinos, star with its planets, planets with their moons, stars rotating in galaxies, etc. Atomic particles and stellar bodies. The number of particles and stellar bodies, in terms of their dimension, are infinite, about 10 elevated to 60, but their structure and properties are simple. 1. Its matter and quantity of mass according to its dimension or quantity of accumulated matter. 2. And the fields of gravitational forces of cohesion, and the magnetic fields of expansion. Particle analysis. As the current standard model gives us multiple types of particles, each with different properties, here we will do a simple review to see the contradictions with this model. Atomic nucleus, similar to star. A. Atomic nuclei, like any other particle, are just large accumulations of amorphous matter without well-defined component particles. Therefore in the nuclei, there are no quarks, nor gluons, nor well-differentiated neutrons, nor well-differentiated protons, etc., but only simple, compact and amorphous nuclear matter. Thus, an atomic nucleus can be destroyed and obtain from it almost infinite pieces of matter or smaller particles. Gluons do not exist, since they are not necessary, since the positive charges are property of the magnetic fields that surround the nucleus, and therefore these charges are not inside this nucleus, but on the periphery. The proton is the atomic nucleus with the minimum, sufficient and exact dimensions to create a magnetic field with a sufficient and adequate potential for the creation of a positive magnetic orbit, plus. That is, particles with a dimension smaller than the proton do not get enough potential magnetic energy to build and sustain a correct and adequately situated positive orbit around them. Therefore, here it would be necessary to consider that there is a border or energetic cut, from which the magnetic potential is sufficient to form stable positive orbits on the nuclei larger than the proton. Material nuclei smaller than the proton do not have sufficient magnetic potential to form well-situate orbits, and they form another range of smaller subatomic particles, which are leptons and their neutrinos. At the star level, these particles smaller than the star are the planets with their corresponding moons. Electric or electromagnetic charges. As we saw in the simplified model, both the gravitational and magnetic fields, antagonistic but synchronized, build wide and extensive orbital systems to achieve a balance in the average cosmic energy density that the universe tends to maintain. Well then, when these orbital systems are large, starting from the proton at the atomic level, they acquire an important magnetic potential and a need to maintain balance and energy density that is also very important and decisive. For this reason, and when the orbital systems rotate, positive magnetic orbits are produced and created at certain distances according to the dimensions of the nucleus and its rotation speed. These positive orbits attract smaller particles, electrons in atoms, planets in stars, to fill the orbit and form a system with the required volume and energy density. Therefore, a full orbital system, greater than the proton, exerts a clear and forceful magnetic potential for the attraction or expulsion of orbitals until reaching the volume and equilibrium level of contained internal energy. Well, these magnetic attraction-repulsion potentials towards other smaller particles is how electromagnetic charges manifest, which are measured by the number of orbits needed or left over in the orbital system or atom. However, this property is also present in non-full or minor systems, such as electrons, which can also have occupied orbits, positron, and with more orbits than necessary, as electrons and leptons commonly have. Other acting magnetic forces. Thermal action magnetic forces. As we have said, the main mission of magnetic forces is the balance in the distribution of cosmic energy through space, since said energy is a fluid that fills the entire cosmos and therefore tends to achieve and have the same density in its redistribution. However, and as the orbital structuring depends directly on the nucleus and its rotation, it happens that a totally adequate average energy density is never achieved, and it is necessary to fill the energy gaps with capture of smaller energetic particles. And this could already be considered as a magnetic action not from within, but from the whole of cosmic space. Thus, apart from the electromagnetic potential of positive charges, there is also an external magnetic potential to the system that tries to fully and adequately supply, fill and balance the atoms with particles and external energy. Well, we will call to this magnetic potential thermal force. NS polar direction. Apart from the gravitational and magnetic forces exposed as natural and basic elements of the cosmos, there is also a polar force, of an eminently mechanical type, due to the rotation of the orbital systems. When orbital systems rotate, a spiral deformation of both gravitational and magnetic fields occurs, and this is due to these distant and peripheral fields cannot follow the same speed of rotation that the interior nucleus has. In this case, the nucleus rotates rapidly and the fields far from it must do so much more slowly. For this reason, by rotating the magnetic and gravitational fields, an eminently mechanical polar direction of rotation is created, in such a way that if we try to bring two orbital systems closer together, we will only succeed if they rotate in the same polar direction, otherwise, their fields that rotate in the opposite direction would collide and a turning and new alignment would take place in the proper direction for the union. On the contrary, if we unite and add properly, and in the same direction of rotation, several or many orbital systems, we can achieve a polar potential, NS, and fields of great mechanical importance, and with a great magnetic influence on the distribution of orbitals. This NS polar direction is the one used by atoms to form molecules and coordinate the rotation of their orbitals, just as stars do in the formation of their stellar molecules, binary stars, of 3, 4, 5 stars, etc. Luminous, photonic, particles. Luminous particles are a very extensive range of microparticles when they circulate at very high speed, close to c, and whose acceleration has been produced by powerful relative magnetic fields, because due to the smallness of these particles in relation to the magnetic fields that emit them, they can accelerate quickly and reach this speed mentioned c. At the atomic level, their weight is infinitesimal, from 10 raised to -60 to 10 raised to -80 grams, and they are formed by groupings and accumulations of material units below the atom level, subatoms. In the smallest luminous particles, and due to their high speed and independence from each other, these particles can form rotating disks, galaxy-like. We usually know each of these groups or luminous particles as a photon when they are the appropriate ones to be captured and read by our eyes. In what differs this cosmic model from the current one, is that here the particles do not exist as a packet of waves, with their corresponding frequency, but as packages of subatoms and whose energy depends on the dimension and mass of the package or formed set. Naturally, each luminous particle or photon is different from any other within a very wide range of dimensions.